Hi, I'm Bianca Coker from Region 10, and I'm one of the math consultants. And in this video, we're going to talk about one of the new math standards we have to work with, the 6.2e standard. This is one of the standards out of the Numbers and Operations strand for 6th grade, and it states that the student applies mathematical process standards to represent and use rational numbers in a variety of forms. The student is expected to extend representations for division to include fraction notation, such as a over b representing the same as a divided by b, where b is not equal to 0. Wow, that's a mouthful. In this standard, we're going to look at the first piece first, which talks about representing and using rational numbers. In other words, we want students to use rational numbers, fractions, decimals, whatever, in a variety of ways, in a variety of forms, and they need to be comfortable moving back and forth between those forms. And now if we look at the next part, that E part, it talks about using fraction notation as a representation for division. So students come to you from elementary having seen division as A divided by B with that lovely division symbol in between. And while they may have been introduced to the whole concept of A over B or A over B in a fraction form also representing division, they may not have seen it very frequently that way. And so what we're supposed to do is expand their understanding of a fraction as both representing that part to whole or part of a group relationship to also include representing the numerator divided by the denominator. And that last piece where b is not equal 0, that means that we can't divide by 0. And we all know that, so we always add that in where b is not equal to 0. Anytime we have a denominator, we cannot have that 0. So looking at prior to 6th grade, what students come into you knowing, they represent fractions as part of a whole. And this is probably the most frequent one they'll see, part of a whole. So they'll see pizzas, they'll see, for example, a strip diagram like this showing part of the whole diagram or whole strip of paper shaded. The other thing they might see is part of a whole represented as equal portions of a polygon. So here are some different models showing different parts of a whole polygon that are shaded. The other relationship we'll see in elementary school is part of a group, and this really isn't actually seen quite as frequently. So students will forget this, and we need to remind them that a fraction represents part of a group. For example, in this picture, we can look at the group of pets, and kittens represent one of the 3 pets as part of the group. So it's not part of a whole, it's a little different. Now, when we talk about division, as I said, most really good elementary teachers will remind their students when they get to the division piece that division can also be written in fraction form, using that fraction bar in place of that division symbol. But they really don't do it too much. They stick more with the traditional division symbol. So this might be a little uncomfortable for your students. So what we want to do is remind them that for division there's verbal representations such as divided by, we're dividing things into equal groups, things are shared equally. Those are all indicators that it's division. And symbolically, we can represent division with this traditional division symbol as 3 divided by 4, or we can represent it in fractional or rational form as 3 with the numerator, a fraction bar, and 3 for the denominator, or 4 for the denominator. So either of these two representations are fine. And we really transition from that division symbol to the rational form when we move into middle school. Now, looking at some extensions and why we even want to do this. Some extensions beyond rational numbers is when we go to rational expressions. This is when we have fractions with variables as part of the numerator or the denominator or both. And we can understand 2 rational expressions as part of a whole, or we can understand them as part of a group or as division. We have lots of ways of thinking about this. So when we look at a rational number like 3 divided by 4 or 3 fraction bar 4, 3/4, we can see a rational expression might be 3x over 4 or 3x over 4y. These are expressions because we have those variable components to the numerator and the denominator. They're no longer rational numbers, but they're rational expressions. Now, taking that a little bit further, it's a lot easier for students to understand these things if we give a value to what those variables are. So if we look at the first rational expression, 3x over 4, and we replace x with 2, that means we have 3 times 2 divided by 4, or 6 divided by 4, 3 halves, then that makes a lot of sense for students. And at this point, it becomes a rational number. But when we just had that x there and we weren't sure what x represented, it was a rational expression. And that other one, 3x over 4y, replacing x with 2 and y with, say, 5, we'll have 3 times 2 over 4 times 5, which is really 6 divided by 20, or 3/10. Well, that's all I have about expressing fractions and decimal as also division. And we need to transition our students from using that division symbol to expressing division with our rational numbers. Thank you and have a great day.